Once a dominant force in the criminal underworld, the Forelli crime family rose through fear, violence, and control of Liberty City's rackets. But as ambition grew, problems arose. Betrayal, internal power struggles, failed hits, and rising enemies were problems that slowly unraveled their once strong empire. What began as legacy of dominance ended in fragmentation and decline, a brutal fall from power in a world where loyalty is never guaranteed. What's going on, everyone? You and I officially kicking it with RJ. Kick up those feet, kick off some shoes, get something to eat, get something to drink. Today, I'm going to be talking about the slow rise and the sudden fall of the Forelli family. And before I really get into it, I want you guys to hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, helps the algorithm. And anyways, let's get right into it. It is unknown exactly when the Forelli family was officially founded. I believe it was founded between the year 1960 and 1965, just because it makes sense for the complete powerhouse that they were in 1971, for them to get some territory and just have some type of dominance within the city. But anyways, in 1971, Sonny Forelli is the powerful young don of the Forelli family, solidifying their grip on Liberty City. Tommy Vercetti was his then closest associate who was a rising star within the family. The Forellis dominated racketeering, gambling, and prostitution across Liberty City. In 1971, Tommy was gaining influence fast within the family. He was proving himself effectively as a deadly and effective hitman. Sonny feared that Tommy's reputation threatened his position as the uncontested Don. Sonny might have feared that Tommy could one day either challenge him or go rogue, which is a serious risk to Sonny himself and the mafia hierarchy. So Sonny then orders Tommy to kill a rival mobster in Harwood, which turns into a deadly setup. Tommy is ambushed by 11 men. He then kills all of them, thus earning him the name the Harwood Butcher. This boast raises his fearsome reputation and sows seeds of distrust within Sonny. Tommy is then arrested and sentenced to 15 years in prison, but spared the death penalty due to Sonny's connections. And between the years 1971 and 1984, the Forellis likely expanded their operations, cleaned up rivals, and strengthened alliances, most likely through corrupt unions and politicians. Sonny maintains control, but grows wary of Tommy's rising influence over time, and worrying about when he eventually will get out. There's no really major public power shifts. The Forellis still maintain dominance in this 15-year time period, or 13-year time period, but internal tensions simmer as Tommy's legend starts to grow in prison. While in prison, Tommy kept more of a low profile, but he likely had lots of time to think and put together that Sonny was the one who was potentially behind the Harwood Incident, given the circumstances of the hit itself. By the mid-1980s, the Forellis looked to expand their empire beyond Liberty City. One city that catches their eye? Vice City. Forelli members like Giorgio Forelli are already involved in Vice City rackets, including high-profile hits. Vice City was then dominated by drug cartels and local gangs, thus complicating Forelli ambitions. And in 1984, Giorgio Forelli attempts to collect a $3 million debt from Barry Micklethwaite, sorry I butchered his name, by targeting his client Phil Collins, which backfires due to intervention from Victor Vance. This shows that Forellis were aggressive and sometimes reckless when it came to business outside Liberty City, so I'm guessing the Forellis didn't really push into Vice City until the time is right. Well, the time was right in 1986 when Tommy Vercetti was released from prison, and to keep Tommy distant from Liberty City dealings, Sonny sends Tommy to meet Ken Rosenberg in Vice City to broker a drug deal with Lance and Victor Vance. The deal is then ambushed by Ricardo Diaz's men, sparking a violent feud. Victor Vance along with Harry and Lee are killed, and Tommy promises Sonny that he will find the people who robbed them, kill them, and get the drugs and money back. While Tommy is making moves and connections, he eventually puts it together that Ricardo Diaz was the one behind the ambush. Tommy then sets a plan in motion to kill Diaz and take over his business. Once Diaz is then killed, Tommy starts to cut Sonny out, and after not receiving anything from Tommy, Sonny sends men to collect the money from his businesses. After those men are killed, Sonny personally arrives in Vice City to claim profits, and while Sonny is in Vice City, betrayals are made and revealed, and after all is revealed, Tommy then kills Sonny, thus ending his influence on Tommy and letting him start his own operation free from potential threats up north. Sonny's death marks the end of the Forelli family's potential future dominance in Vice City, thus ending the Vice City reigns over to Tommy Vercetti. With Sonny gone and Tommy out of the Forelli fold, Sonny's brother Marco Forelli leads a weakened but still powerful Forelli family, but Marco lacks Sonny's ruthlessness or charisma and fails to unite the family under a clear vision. Their attempts to rebuild and reassert themselves in Liberty City go slow. Internal distrust and fear of more betrayals create a paranoid atmosphere. Marco avoids aggressive expansion, preferring to stabilize the family's dwindling core operations. The late 1980s show a slow decline of the Forelli family. They lose territory, and competing Liberty City families such as the Leones start encroaching on Forelli rackets. Their internal problems: there's a lack of clear succession and planning leads to infighting, and revenue from traditional operations such as gambling and protection rackets shrink. The The Forellis fail to enter the crack cocaine trade unlike their competitors, which is probably a good thing. The early 90s see the Mafia families in a power struggle over lucrative Vegas-style casinos and expanding territories. In 1992, Caligula's Palace in Las Venturas is jointly owned by Forelli, Sindaco, and then Leone families. Unable to decide leadership, Ken Rosenberg is appointed as a mediator. Marco attempts to eliminate Johnny Sindaco by hijacking his ambulance trying to provoke a power play, but Carl Johnson, sent by Ken, intervenes to prevent a full-on mafia war. Marco then orders hits on Salvatore Leone, sparking further tensions, but then Carl prevents this by taking out the hitman sent to kill Salvatore. Salvatore then retaliates by having Carl go to Liberty City and kill Marco at his own bistro. Marco's death symbolizes the beginning of the end of the Forelli family, leaving a big power vacuum during this time. The Forelli presence in San Andreas weakens as there's no clear leader at the time, and Caligula's casino likely goes back to just Sindaco control. After Marco's death, Franco Forelli, a high-ranking capo, and his brother eventually takes control of what's left of the family. However, compared to Marco and Sonny, Franco is seen as a weaker leader, lacking the strategic insight that Marco and Sonny both had. The family then splinters into factions, each controlling smaller territories within Liberty City, and traditional rackets like loan sharking, extortion, and gambling are still active, but heavily overshadowed by the Leone family and the Sindacos gaining ground in Portland, the Yakuza and the Yardi seizing turf in Staten Island, and the Southside Hoods taking pieces of Shoreside Vale. And by 1995, the Forellis started to regain influence by manipulating Liberty City politics. They then get Mayor Roger C. Hull on their payroll and use him to do their political bidding. And in 1998, Mayor Roger C. Hull orchestrates the arrest of Salvatore Leone, so Salvatore moves to have him killed. The Forellis contend with the death of the mayor they backed by backing Miles O'Donovan politically to oppose a Leone-backed Donald Love. And then violent mob war erupts between the Forellis, Sindacos, and the Leones due to the Sicilian mob's manipulations. Then Salvatore manipulates the conflict further by orchestrating assassination attempts and sowing chaos. And then Tony Cipriani and Southside Hoods carve out Forelli turf in Shoreside Vale, thus accelerating their territorial losses. The Forellis then target the Yakuza, mistakenly attacking Toshiko Case and unaware she opposes her husband's violent ambitions. And then at the end of it, the Forelli HQ, or headquarters in Fort Staunton, is destroyed by Tony Cipriani using underground explosives, killing many Forelli members and even possibly killing their leader at the time, Franco. This period is marked by internal betrayals, external wars, and crumbling influence. The Forellis then lose much of their Liberty City foothold to rising gangs and other crime groups. And with losing everything, their main base of operations and everything in the explosion, and even if Franco Forelli survived, his power was effectively neutered. He vanished from the public eye effectively, if he did. Any remaining leadership was either dead, in hiding, or absorbed into rival organizations. The power vacuum left behind was quickly filled by the Leone family, who was now a dominant force in Liberty City, the Yakuza, who was seizing territory in Staten Island, and again the Southside Hoods, who were rising in Shoreside Vale more and more. The Forelli family lost its ability to control unions, construction, and racketeering, most of its loyal soldiers and trusted capos, and is standing among Liberty City's mafia circles. By 2001, the Forelli brothers had lost all prestige within Liberty City and were operating in survival mode. Joey Leone seemed to have some type of ongoing feud with the Forelli brothers, thus having Mike Forelli, one of the last known senior members, killed by Claude using a car bomb. Claude also disposes of another Forelli member's body at the Harwood Auto Crusher, again on Joey's orders. These hits were a part of Joey's campaign to seemingly eliminate rival mafia remnants in the city and solidify Leone control in Liberty City. These assassinations were likely decapitating the remaining leadership of the Forelli brothers, and with no central authority, the group dissolved into obscurity. The remaining turf and businesses were likely absorbed by the Leones, Triads, or the Diablos, since they were the only major gangs within the area. And after all this, the Forelli family is likely dissolved or is absorbed by rival groups, since there's no significant Forelli activity or leadership after Joey's jobs. Former Forelli members might have either retired, been killed off, or joined other families. The Forelli legacy survives as mainly as a cautionary tale of ambition undermined by internal distrust, failed expansion, and external pressures. Now that you know their entire history, what exactly caused their downfall? Now there's a few reasons to that. One of them is ambition without control. At their height under Sonny Forelli, the Forellis were ruthless and influential, ruling rackets in gambling, extortion, prostitution, and union corruption in Liberty City. But Sonny's overreaching ambition became a double-edged sword. He wanted to expand operations in the Vice City, hoping to dominate its exploding drug trade. Rather than using seasoned local muscle, Sonny sent Tommy Vercetti, freshly released from prison, to oversee a major narcotics deal. His big mistake was Sonny underestimating Tommy's capability and loyalty, assuming prison had broken him. Instead, Tommy outgrew the leash, built his own empire, and took over Vice City. Another reason they fell was internal distrust and betrayal. The Forelli family structure began to rot from the inside even early on. Sonny distrusted his own people, most notably Tommy, whom he set up in 1971. The betrayal he did on him planted the seeds of vengeance and long-term instability. The assassination attempt, which was disguised as a hit job, cost the Forellis a valuable asset in Tommy and made a future dangerous enemy in him. By the 1980s, the Forelli leadership showed signs of paranoia, poor delegation, and reactive violence, all signs of weakening leadership. And another reason the Forelli family fell was their failed expansion efforts. The push into Vice City went horribly, and them trying to muscle their way into Las Venturas went just as good as Vice City did. With Vice City, instead of gaining ground, they lost millions in manpower and an effective leader, and Tommy Vercetti's exit from the family was a death blow to their southern hopes. And in Las Venturas, their involvement in Caligula's Palace Casino was undermined by internal rivalries with the Sindaco and Leone families. Marco tried to consolidate power by assassinating Johnny Sindaco and Salvatore Leone, but both of these assassination attempts were failed, and the move backfired on him. These hits sparked a chain reaction that led to Marco Forelli's own assassination. By trying to go too far too fast and with no trust and no plan, the Forellis weakened their own core operations in Liberty City. And one big thing that destroyed the Forelli family was weak leadership. Now, Sonny, while he was an effective leader in the time he ran the family, he tried to kill his best enforcer, which created a dangerous future enemy because of it, and he paid the price for it. And instead of rebuilding alliances, Marco Forelli doubled down on reckless hits, which backfired hard and led to his death. And then came Franco Forelli, if you can even call it leadership. During the 1998 Liberty City gang war, Franco was a ghost. While the rivals made power plays, the Forellis lost turf, lost influence, and eventually lost Fort Staunton. And by 2001, they were barely a crew, operating under the name Forelli Brothers with no clear dawn and no real muscle left. Weak leaders have no unity and no future. They climb fast, but with no unity, no vision, no humility, their empire collapsed just as hard. And anyways, guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making this video. If you want to hear anything lore related wise to really any game, leave it in the comments below. And anyways, that's where I'm going to leave it. So I want you guys to hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, helps the algorithm, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care now.